So now you're at the point you finished whatever repair and you're ready to put the phone back together. So you have all the pieces in, everything looks good, everything's down how it should be, there's no cables or anything sticking up. So what we'll do is we'll get the board, and I usually start at the top. So I'll make sure the camera's facing me on the board. That's how you know that you've got it right. And I'll kind of flip these cables backward just a little bit. You don't want to pinch them, but you just want to get them out of the way. Make sure your LCD one and that the navigation cable's back as well. And with the board, you can kind of just hold it in your hand. And I'll start at the top, kind of slide it in, making sure that the camera will go over its little housing and that all the plugs, that I can see them all. And then same down here. I'll make sure that plug is back and then it lines up how it should. And you'll know because all these little guides right here, you can see the where the screws go into. You'll know that it's all lined up when that's all even. You may have a bit of an issue with the camera. It may stick out like that. So if you do, you can just lift it back up, just lift the board up, kind of how we took it out, and then nestle the camera right into place, and then wiggle it all back down together, and the camera should be nice and flat. So just make sure everything's good. I'll usually plug the plugs in first. You don't have to. You can put your two screws, the two that we took out right here. You'll have one that goes in right there and one that goes in right there. So you can put those in first. It wouldn't hurt to make sure everything is exactly how it should be. So that's in. That's in. Sweet. And then we'll just plug all the plugs in. Now I'll just kind of by feel, I'll just line it up and then click it in place. If it feels like it's off or you can see that it's off, you may, obviously don't force it, but you'll be able to feel it. You can kind of wiggle it around on the plug and should be able to line it up just by your finger. So there you go. That one's good. Okay, so all those plugs are back, and now we're ready to put the battery door on. So here's the battery door. I'm sorry, the housing. And I'll usually start at the top, kind of like that. It's almost like an A. And slide that in. Make sure that's all flush. And then just go around the edge. On the very edge. You don't want to push in the middle of the phone. If you push in the middle, you'll probably snap your LCD. And if that's something you repaired, I'm sure you don't want to replace it again. So we'll just go around the edge. Snap it all in. Once it's good, you can look around the frame, and the frame should sit up against the LCD glass nice and flush. If there's a little bit of a gap, you may want to kind of move the frame back and forth and just see if you can get it to nestle in, but shouldn't be too bad. Just don't give it a lot of pressure if you do have to kind of mess with it. And then the last thing to do, we have our 6 screws. Now, this is something that you want to do once you've tested your part and you know that it works 100%. Because you don't want to put all the screws back in and do all this and go through everything, and then you find out that maybe a plug is undone, or you didn't, maybe the part's not in there right, and then you have to take it all back apart. It just saves you time. I mean, especially working on phones all day long, to have to do this to 15, 20 phones in a day, you kind of cut your time down as much as possible. So I recommend, if you've replaced a part, before you put all the screws in, just put the housing on, put everything in how you would normally, but just don't put all the screws in, and then test it. So once you get those 6 screws in, you get the battery door, put it on the bottom, on the top, and then just slide the sides down, clicks all into place, and then again, test it and you should be good. But that's how you put the phone back together.